Hello!
Welcome back to season 2.
Season 2, I'm very excited.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Season 2, that we've done 11 episodes. It's going to be episode 12, but 1 of season 2.
I've not thought about that actually. I suppose it's technically episode 12 in... Yeah. Tea in a Chat, episode 12,
Tea
season
in a Chat
2.
with Harry and Pat, we're back. Woo!
So, as always, it's Harry and Zara here.
Yeah, and Pat.
And that is all.
Until we get Pat the dog.
And you know, when we do, if we have, at some stage an animal in this household, where would they be right now?
Here,
We're
sat on
doing
my
this
lap.
in the living room. You think?
Yeah,
What if it doesn't want to be sat on your lap?
it will. It will always want to be sat with me.
You don't know that.
Yes, I do.
No, you
We
don't.
would be best friends.
What if the animal wanted to sit on the floor or not be in the room? Or it made too much noise, we couldn't,
No, it will be well behaved and it'll always want to be by me. If it wants to sleep on the floor, that's fine. It can sleep at my feet.
This poor little animal's got a lot of rules to abide by.
It's
May
not-
even
it's
be in
not
existence
rules.
yet.
I'm not saying it's rules. It doesn't have to. I'm just saying it's going to want to.
But what if it doesn't want to? What are you going to do?
Well, it will. So,
Yeah, that's resolved.
quick question before we move on to the important stuff. If you've got pets, or if you want pets, whatever, how do you feel about pets in the bedroom? Because Harry is very much like, now if we get a dog, it cannot come into our bedroom. And I'm like, oh, but snuggles with the puppy.
No,
I'm not saying it would sleep in her bed all night, but
when else are you in bed? Do you know what I mean?
when else am I not in bed? Just to be honest, Jake.
No, it'd have to be downstairs for me.
Boring. Anyway, let us know.
I'm not saying it can't go upstairs. For me, that depends on how good that is for the dog. Because my old family dog, we didn't really allow her upstairs because it's bad for her joints and it would, give her arthritis down the line. So we discouraged it.
Look, they only live once.
What? So they should live with arthritis?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying.
Don't be selfish. You've got to care for the animal.
Fine, I'll sleep down here with the dog.
All right.
Moving on. That is 5 minutes of your life you're never going to get back. That's.
No, I do think we open with some interesting questions sometimes and things to talk about.
Anyway.
Interesting to me, at least.
Tell us, Harry. Time to move on to the drinks section of this podcast.
Yes.
What drink do you have today?
I have a peppermint tea. I've sported a peppermint tea before. It's in the Fox mug, which I've also mentioned in previous podcasts. We have a wide array of mugs, although
We do.
the only one that's been mentioned is this Fox one, which isn't the highlight
Yeah,
mug.
maybe we should start talking about our mugs too, because we have so many.
Well, you tell us what you've got in your mug, and then tell us about your mug. Don't spill it. I can see that going.
I've got a breakfast tea, just your regular tea.
What kind of
Caffeinated.
breakfast though? There's a lot of different types of
Tetley tea.
Tetley tea.
Tetley tea.
So you're not like PG Tips, not Yorkshire.
I like PG Tips. Nah, sorry for
Not
Irish. Yorkshire.
Twinings.
It's alright. Not my fave.
I've got no idea the difference between these because I don't really drink a regular cup of tea.
PG, yeah. Harry's an Earl Grey.
That's just what I was brought up on, yeah. Earl Grey was my first tea experience, and I still drink Earl Grey to this day. I quite like it. But I do think that sort of explains why I like herbal teas. I feel like there's a nice link there.
Easy chewing, isn't
Yeah.
Mike, Harry's convinced I'm going to spill it. I'm not. My cup today is got 2 little bears on. They're like little Care Bears, and it's pink, and it says, "Today I need a hug." And Harry's sister got me this, didn't she?
She did. You do like that mug, don't you? It's a
I
nice
love
mug.
it. It's one of my favourites.
Yeah.
Okay, shall we get into this podcast?
That was Zara kissing the mug.
Yes, sorry.
You know what that was.
In advance for my slurping as well. I can't not slurp.
I think as well, just on the spilling front, you have got a track record of spilling stuff. I'm not saying you tip the whole thing out, but
I think I've got a problem, honestly. I think there's a bit in my brain that just I can't not spill. I try so hard. I can walk so carefully, so slow, and it's like I'm on a boat, and it's like I can't explain it.
Yeah, so that is where my caution came from.
But I didn't spill this time.
You haven't spilled... No, not yet. But hopefully you won't.
Okay, so now we've got my spilling out the way. Let's spill the tea on today's.
Wow. I don't even know if I understand what just happened.
Funny.
I think you're quite funny as well, but I don't know what that was.
Let's spill the tea on today's podcast.
Let's crack on before. Yeah.
Mr. Harry.
Yes.
I've called him that because we're teaching when we teach the kids through courts, Harry's Mr. Harry, so I always say Mr. Harry, and now I just did it in real life.
There you go. Well, I mean, it's not wrong. My name is Harry.
My name is Harry. I am a mister.
Today's podcast is about being brave and pushing outside your comfort zone.
Yes, it is. And I guess how that can benefit you as a performer and as a person too.
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's one of those things that's really, we all love a comfort zone. We all need a comfort zone.
We are two people who love a comfort zone.
We do. I mean, I think actually, I was thinking just then, with this podcast, you sort of hear a lot of the element of our comfort zone because we're in our own space.
Yeah.
You know, there's the freedom to just sort of be whatever, have whatever conversation before you actually start what you intended to start talking about.
Exactly.
You know, that's comfort, and it allows us to be free and be ourselves, and that's so important, in my opinion.
Definitely.
So we've got a few kind of points to talk about, and whether we do them in the order we've written them down is another thing, but I'm sure we'll find many different ways of talking about different things. But I think it's important to say, as we always do in pretty much I think every episode, take what you feel will work for you. You know, you may be doing stuff subconsciously already, you just don't know. But if something rings a bell, something like resonates for you,
take it, run with it.
Absolutely.
So, well, I guess let's start by talking about the thing that you sort of sit with. You read it recently or found it out recently about being a 1-year-old adult or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's a good place to start, because I think a lot of the thing with our comfort zone and a lot of the thing with challenging yourself comes with like getting older. There's more things that you have to do. There's more. It's not so easy to go somewhere and, you know, make friends and like feel settled in that situation. I feel like when you're a child, it's like
you just are.
You're a bit more like a sponge, and things just happen. You bounce off things, and it's. Whereas as an adult, there's so many more anxieties, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, I guess there's obviously a lot more responsibility as an adult, but equally, there's also, I think, a lot of pressures in a social sense as well. Or, what do I mean? You know, you get into your, I'm doing sort of quotation marks with my fingers, you get into that adult stage of your life, and then you sort of have these expectations of, I must be doing this, I must be, you know, working towards this, I must have this by this point.
There's no time for fun because we must be doing this.
But yeah, you sort of, and I think I'm assuming this has always been around, but I think social media has turned the dial up a little bit on that.
I agree.
You know, you see people putting something out there and you're like, oh, as an example, I've gone to school with are married with kids and houses, and, you know, someone might look at something like that and be like, oh my God, why haven't I done that? I'm 27, like, and I'm not married, I haven't got a house, I haven't got kids, but that's actually fine, you know?
More than.
You're not old at 27.
Yeah, as much as I'd like to tell you that you are old at 27. Oh my goodness, we have to update the podcast even though they can't see us.
Why?
Because although Harry says he's not old, he doesn't have any hair anymore, so...
I'm pretty sure we finished the last one where I didn't have any hair.
No.
Oh. Well, I've shaved my head. Not that you would have known I had hair in the first place. But yeah, I shaved my head. When did I shave it? Sort of beginning of September.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Big life changes outside your comfort zone. You see what I did there?
It was a bit, I suppose, outside my comfort zone.
You were a bit
Definitely
stressed that day, weren't you?
outside zone of familiarity. But yeah, I don't know if anyone else listening has got a shaved head. I didn't do much with my hair beforehand. I would literally shower, towel it off, that's it, done. And get it cut every 3 months, which is quite a while, really. It's a lot more high maintenance having a shaved head than I realised.
Well, not really, Harry, because all you have to do is shave it once a week.
Yeah, but when you think about all that I was doing before, it was just toweling it off once I get out of the shower.
Yeah, but you don't even have to wash it now.
Well, no, but shaving it once a week is more than I was doing before. And really, if I was to keep it like down to the skin, I should probably shave it more than once a week.
That's true.
Because right now it feels like a little pipe cleaner. It's a journey.
We've gone off on a tangent again. I'm sorry.
That was on you. That one. It's normally me.
It's always Harry. I'll take that one for the team.
Right, but what you were talking about is you were talking about something I read online. Where I read it, I do not know, and it's not like a scientific thing. It was something I saw where someone was talking about being an adult and when that starts kind of thing. So it said something along the lines of if you were to become an adult age 20, for example.
Which is when people are sort of like moving out and roughly...
Yeah, thereabouts, isn't it? Thereabouts. So it's not a fixed age, but say it was 20. When you are 21, it's like you've been an adult for a year, so you're like a 1-year-old adult.
Yeah.
And I really like that because I think that's like, actually, you know, I've literally come out of living in a home life, if that's what you've done, or wherever you may be in your life, but you're kind of like giving yourself a bar of like, right, my adult life has started from here, and I've only been doing it a year.
Yeah.
So of course I'm not going to know this, or of course I've messed that thing up, or whatever else it might be.
And I think that's just a good place to start this podcast because I think it allows you to think. I think there's a lot of pressure to be like, why are we not doing this? Like, you want to step outside your comfort zone and do these big scary things, but it's like, oh, I'm scared and I should be better because I'm 25 and I'm blah blah blah. You're only technically 5 in adult terms. You've still got so much to learn and so much to do, and
it's important to sort of nurture that, and I think give yourself a bit of a break because you wouldn't expect a 1-year-old or a 5-year-old or whatever to run before they can walk. So,
exactly.
You know?
And we're trying to figure out who we are and who we want to be and ultimately what makes us happy, and that a huge element of that comes from stepping outside your comfort zone, but also giving yourself a bit of a break in that sense to be like, it is what it is, you know. You've got to, every day all you can do is try your best.
Yeah. And every day will be different as well, you know. You're not going to wake up and feel incredible every single day, you know.
I beg to differ.
Well, I mean, if you do, then that's great.
I'm joking. No, it's important to add as well, just because I know sometimes we go off on a bit of a life tangent, and we will keep referring it back to in the performer world. But like, imagine having all these feelings and whatever, just like everyone has, and then being a performer and going to auditions and being cut, and like the minefield of that as well, you know, like, and the whole, I want this job, and I need to, for example, I need to be able to sing for this job. I'm not a singer. I have to go to singing lessons. I'm really nervous to go to singing lessons. All my friends can already sing. Do you know what I mean? Do you know where I'm going with that? That whole, so we're like, we stay in our comfort zone and we don't go to the singing lesson, but then ultimately we don't get to where we want to be because we've not pushed ourselves in.
Yeah, the progress is sort of not reduced, is the word again. That's not the right word. It's stalled. The progress is stalled. It's not that you don't progress, because you can progress through watching other people and taking on what you see.
Not in the same way, though.
Yeah, to actually do it is very different.
So yeah, that is what we shall be talking about today and going through. And I guess let's take a moment just now to think about, what is your current comfort zone? Like right now, what is your comfortable everyday, or even if you're a dancer, actor, singer, industry-wise, what is your comfort zone? So is there a class that you like to go to, you feel quite comfortable in, you know the teacher, you know the people that are there, it's
a style that you like.
It's in the style that you like. While the class might change week to week, the overall foundation of the class is the same. Like, you know what to expect every week where you go.
Yeah, you know,
right?
the format, everything.
Is it that is your comfort zone that you only like to do Zoom singing lessons? Is that where it's just yourself, or you only like to do private lessons, you don't like to go when other people are around? Is it that, I don't know, it could be anything. Do you like to have your morning coffee at home because you don't like to go to the shop? You know what I mean?
It can be anything. Yeah, absolutely anything. I think some of that comes into routine as well, when, you know, talking about a morning coffee. Like, and again, I think routine is an element of comfort. Familiarity,
definitely.
And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's like we've said already, it's good to have the reassurance and the regularity, and it
Definitely.
keeps you sane, it keeps you
Yeah.
sort of level-headed.
But the reason why I think it's important to think, what is my comfort zone, is because once you know what it is, you can realise whether or not it's just a routine thing that you like doing, or if it's something that you do to, quote unquote, protect yourself from the scary things, you know, which are not negative things. The scary things doesn't mean it's a negative thing. It's just something that your brain has convinced you that, but it's safer to do it this way, so I'm just going to keep doing it this way.
Protecting, isn't it? Like you say.
Definitely.
But I think a lot of that, you never know until you do it as well. You know, you might be cautious of going to do something or actioning something, whatever it may be, and you actually might be really good at it, but you'll never know if you don't try and step out of that comfort zone. Like, you've got to experiment, but it's easy to say. You've got to do that.
I mean,
it's easy for us to sit here and talk about, we should do this, you could do that, whatever it may be. It's another thing to do it. Yeah.
It's different. But then I guess so your next question, you've worked out roughly what your comfort zone is, what it looks like. Then ask yourself, how often do you actually step outside of that? Like, how often do you go to a different class? How often do you change up your routine? How often do you challenge yourself to be better outside of your comfort zone, you know? Because again, I think it goes into that routine sort of thing, but people don't realise that they're living in this little bubble of, well, I'm safe and I'm secure here, and even though I'm not really getting to where I want as fast as I want to go, and I'm just, this is safer, this feels safer, you know? So they don't push themselves. And I think if you actually think about it and you think, wow, like, I've not done anything in the last year that's really pushed me, I bet you so many people that are like that.
I think as well, though, it doesn't even need to be something that really pushes you. You can start small. Like, say, come back to the coffee example that you mentioned, coffee earlier. So if you were to go out and get a coffee every day, and you always go to the same place, get the same thing, you could challenge yourself by going and trying something different at the same place, or go to a different place and get the same thing. Do you know what I mean? A little adjustment like that, and I think if you do little things like that, and it'll layer up, and you'll become more confident gradually through doing little things like that. If you're going to a different shop, you're going into a new environment. If you're trying something that you don't normally get, you're experimenting with new flavours, and I think you can translate that into your life.
Into the other aspects.
Make decisions and choices. Because life's full of so many different flavours and experiences, and you only, depending on what you believe, you only live once, as the saying goes, and make the most of that. It's short as well, as COVID has taught us. Life is short.
I guess because I feel like there'll be people listening that'll be like, well, what has changing my coffee got to do with my comfort zone? But it's that sort of idea of, well, if you keep doing what you're doing now, are you going to get to where you want to be? If you keep living the same way you're living now and doing exactly the things you're doing now, is that going to change your path? Is that going to, if your dream is to be in the West End, but you're going to one class a week and not submitting yourself to anything because you're scared, that's not going to get you to where you want to be.
No.
And it's all about reprogramming your brain, getting up, doing something different, getting a different coffee, setting yourself challenges to do one thing a day that scares you. You know, it's all in the rewind. Your brain is literally programmed to see quote unquote dangers that you think it's trying to protect you all the time. Yeah. It's like, and it's your job as a however old adult you are to remind it that it's okay and that you can do the scary things and it actually can work out great.
I think another way of looking at it as well is, depending on what it is, going back to a dance class example or, you know, tutoring example, if you think about how many people do that, you know what I mean, there's an abundance. And I think often there will be an abundance of people doing the thing that you're nervous of doing. So I think you can take some element of reassurance in that despite it maybe feeling scary or whatever it may feel, there's a lot of people who do it, and so why can't you?
Exactly.
You know?
And I think that you and yourself as well, you will have done things in your life that felt scary, that were outside your comfort zone, that were like loads of things, I'm sure, even if you haven't actively acknowledged them, and they've turned out good. Like, think about that. Like, for example, I imagine it would be the same for you, but for me, I was so scared to audition for dance college and go to all these auditions and doing all these things, and I could have so easily been like, nah, I'm not going to do it, I'll stay where I'm comfortable. But then I wouldn't be where I am now. I wouldn't have trained, I wouldn't have enjoyed my training as much as I did, I wouldn't have gone on to do the jobs I've done, you know, and it's just...
You wouldn't be doing this.
Exactly.
No, it's true. I think, and translates to anything, I think to be open and available to opportunities is a part of that as well. Because when you're talking about auditioning for training, it makes me think of job interviews, and I feel like this is something I sort of say to people who might have spoken to me about a job, any old job, not just performing. Like, oh, this opportunity has sort of come up. I could maybe apply for this job, but I don't know if I should. I don't know if I'm qualified, whatever it may be. But I always think, well, just go for it. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. And if it doesn't, you know, you don't get the job, it's not that you've taken a step back. You've actually taken a step forward, even though you haven't got the job. Because you've challenged yourself to do it and maybe put yourself in someone's mind in some way, you know. There might be something else in a different way that they might think, actually, I'm not going to give you this job, but there's this other position.
And that's a perfect example of your brain trying to protect you and trying to be like, well, no, I'm not qualified. Oh, no, I can't. No, I couldn't possibly do that. No. Just stay in the job you're in, even though you're not very happy, because, you know, it's safer. That's a perfect example of...
Within that, life can become a bit mundane as well. You know, I think we like familiarity and routine and everything, but we also like excitement, you know, and to, I don't know, go on holiday somewhere different, or to, like, I guess, try a completely new coffee in a new coffee shop. It's an element of excitement and change that will stimulate your brain in a new way.
Yeah.
And you don't know how that could influence your day, your week, your month, whatever. You know?
It's funny, because if I think about us and our, like, natural sort of disposition, I don't know if that's the right word, but I would say we're quite routine based, like, happy in our comfort zone people. I mean, everyone is, but probably because we're more introverted, we naturally will fall into that a bit more.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, I'm like, we challenge ourselves all the time. We literally moved to a completely different city. We didn't know anyone. Just randomly found a house, had no job, started their own business, you know, like, it's...
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm saying that because you don't have to be this big, like, extroverted, I'm going to run at everything head first and do skydives and, you know, be really sociable and go to 100 parties a week and do, like, all this stuff. It's just about working out what you want and then taking conscious steps towards that and pushing yourself in that.
It's listening to you Because how you feel on the day will be different as well. There'll be some days that you want to go and do skydiving, so to speak, and there'll be other days where you're like, you know what, I just want to sit under a blanket and watch films and shut off from the world, and that's okay. Like they're both fine. It doesn't mean you're not progressing. It means you're in touch with yourself. It's intuitive, and I think that's important to remember.
Exactly.
I think one of the things that's coming into my head, I don't know if we've got written down here, but it's a quote. Let me just get it up so I say it right. It's a quote by Samuel Beckett, which was used a lot at drama school for me, and it was, so it's ever tried, ever failed, no matter, try again, fail better. And I like
love that.
It's really good. It's really good because you can fail again and again and again and again, but each time you fail, you progress. You know, it's, again, run before you can walk. It's that expression. You wouldn't expect a 1-year-old to get up and start sprinting. You know, and they're going to fall over. They're going to maybe hurt themselves, and that's part of the process. We all walk now, and we take it for granted. But you went through a process to get there of failure, and failure is actually learning. There's a lot of negative connotations around failure and fear and whatever else. And are you hungry?
Sorry, my tummy just made the loudest noise.
But no, there's a lot of, I think it's labelled in a certain way, or there's stigmas around it, but the reality is there's positive in failure.
Yeah, there's a podcast I used to listen to. I'm racking my brain now trying to remember what it's called, but it was all about, I want to say it's called How to Fail. Someone will know because it was really popular, but they brought on loads of like celebrities and famous people, and it's like, what have you failed at? Like, they celebrated the fails. How have you got to where you are because of your failures? And that's like failures, I'm doing quotation marks again, but when have you taken a step outside your comfort zone and it's not worked, but it's also got you to where you are now? You know, it's like, I should find out what that's called, and we'll link it in the show notes. But is that ideal, and that the whole thing of like everyone that you admire and look up to and whatever it's not been smooth sailing for them to get to where they want to be. They had to challenge themselves. They had to feel that fear in the pit of their stomach, do the things anyway, and fail a million times to be where they are now.
It's almost evolutionary, isn't it, when you think about it, you know?
Oh, definitely.
Because we wouldn't be in a place where you can drive cars and get on a plane and go on holiday and live in a house that's heated with central heating, and, you know, you cook stuff in the oven or on the hob, whatever it may be, watch TV.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be in the world we're in without failure and people working and trying to progress.
Yeah.
So it's literally, you just need to look around, actually, don't you? Just wherever you are right now listening to this, if you just look around the room or look around the place you're in, if you're outside, people have worked out that these things work in this way, and they may still be working out that they can work in a better way than how they are right now. I mean, when you think about phones, for example, it's popped into my head. Think about the very first mobile phone and the size of it, and it had an aerial, didn't it? And like, you think about phones now, like the progress and how quickly at the moment they progress.
Yeah, it's funny as well. Just as you were talking there, I was thinking, especially in a creative sense, in a creative world, there's no like blueprint for how to do things. There's no like, if you do this is going to be the outcome. Everything is so free and open and up for like interpretation, that's the word. So it's like you have to step outside your comfort zone to sort of find where your feet sit and where you know, find out about yourself. And
it's fun, and it's part of your journey, isn't it?
Exactly. But yeah, I guess it's also about knowing what you want and letting that fuel you past that anxious feeling of, I've got to do this thing. So like I've said a million times, if you want a certain job, there's certain boxes you're going to have to tick to get that. So you have to decide, do I want this, so I don't know, say you want to be in 42nd Street, right, and you need to improve your tap, but you don't feel super competent in your tap, right? You then have a choice to make. Do I want it bad enough to step outside my comfort zone and go to tap class? That's an okay question to ask yourself, and it's an okay question to say, no, I don't want it that bad. That's fine if that's true, but if you do, you have to focus on that end product and see the possibilities and see the bigger picture in order to be like, do you know what, brain? You be quiet. I'm going to go do something for me today, you know?
Yeah, I like that. It's sort of unrelated, but I feel like in our last podcast season, Lion King was the show that was referenced for everything. And now you've said 42nd Street. I feel like that's going to be the show that we reference for the entirety of this season.
Oh, I was going to say Lion King again, and I thought, I do know other shows, so I'll try not to. But yeah.
Both good shows.
Both very good shows. Yeah, I think as well, I've always sort of lived by the idea that you don't have to... You can do one thing, just one thing a day. Whatever that looks like for you, one thing a day, and that could change your life. It literally could. One thing. So, I don't know, maybe you reach out to a casting director online, and you've been scared to do it, and you've been putting it off, and you do it, and something comes from that you couldn't even imagine. It's like one act of bravery, one moment of like reckless, I'm just going to do it, you know? You just like override your brain and you're like, I'm doing it for me. And the outcomes can be crazy and you don't even fathom them in your comfort zone because it's, you know what I mean?
You've got nothing to lose. It goes back to the job interview thing I was saying earlier. Like, you're not going to go backwards for doing it. And the only option is to go forwards or stay where you are.
Exactly. And you're strong. You're so much stronger than you think. You can
absolutely
convince your mind to do anything. You're in full control of that.
Humans are very resilient, especially in the performing world. Very resilient. Sort of have to be. But we've all got our own journeys and the things that happen in our lives, whatever. And you know, you're still breathing, still working, still living.
And it's still character building at the end of the day, so...
Absolutely.
You should talk about your Ted Lasso thing. I feel like this is a good point.
Yeah, if you haven't seen Ted Lasso, I would highly recommend watching it.
It's amazing.
I remember introducing it to you and you were like, oh, I'm not sure, but...
It seems like it's just about football, and I was like, oh, you're really going to make me watch a programme about football. But it's actually so good.
It's fantastic. You will fall in love with the characters and the themes and everything about it.
It's on Apple TV.
However, the thing I'm thinking of specifically, in one of the episodes, I think it's in one of the later seasons, it might be season 2 or 3... Must be 2. How many seasons are there?
3. I think it's 3.
So it must be season 2, I think. But anyway, one of the characters asks another one how they sort of appear to be so confident and sort of together, I suppose. I'm trying not to give too much away for people who haven't watched it. But anyway, they say to the other that they have like a thing they do to sort of like psych themselves up, I guess. And her thing is to look at herself in the mirror and make like a big scary face, and like it's all about power and psyching herself up and like, I can do this. And I think if you find that for yourself, whatever that may be, because the character who asks how do you do it then goes on to find their own way of doing that, and finding their confidence and their like, you know, almost like that, shaking yourself to be like, yeah, all right,
I got this,
I can do this, I'm capable, whatever. If you can find that, you'll fly. Sometimes you may fly to a completely different destination that you weren't expecting to fly to, but that's fine. You've taken the leap.
That's how it's meant to be.
It's like a bird leaving the nest, isn't it? I suppose, you know, they've got to psych themselves up to jump, and they could plummet, but within that they will
land somewhere that's right. You know.
Yeah.
I do think as well, the more you jump, the more you challenge, the more you expand your horizons, let's say, the easier it gets. It doesn't feel so big and scary because you've got a list of 100 other times you've done it and been fine. So your brain's like, yeah, I can do it. And then before you know it, you've got a huge, massive comfort zone that you just live in, and it's great.
You trust yourself.
Wow, Mr. Beeperson, what's going on?
There's a lot going on. Always a lot going on during our podcast.
We need to, one day we will have a big fancy podcast studio. There's soundproof rooms, and no noises.
You know what? I don't mind though. It's real life podcast. It's what you hear is just how we've recorded it.
I'm only a 4-year-old adult, so.
Well, you're doing pretty well recording a podcast as a 4-year-old adult, I'd say.
I honestly, this is again not relevant, but I forgot how old I was the other day, and I couldn't remember. I couldn't work it out. I sort of knew. I was like, well, I didn't believe I was about to turn 25. I think that was the problem. I was like, nah.
You've got a little while yet, really.
Like what, 4 months or something?
Yeah, that's a little while.
Yeah, okay, fine. But the point is, on my next birthday, I'm going to be 25, and I was like, nah, I'm not. And I probably convinced myself that I didn't know how old I was. I was like, 23?
I think we just need to just clarify the fact that you said 25, like, oh my god, 25 is not that old.
Oh, I know it's not old.
Okay.
I'm a spring chicken. But my point is, I still, like, if someone was to just ask me how old I was, I'd be like 20.
I think we're all like that, though, aren't we? We'll get to the age of like 18 to 20 and that's it. That's where you are. Just with a bit more life experience.
It's just funny. I was like, how can I not remember how old I am? Like, what was my last birthday? It's a genuine experience that I had. Anyway.
Yeah, part of the journey.
Anyway.
So, what is our next point we've got written down?
That's it, really.
Oh, is it?
We've done all our chatting. It's just, I guess the last thing we've got written down here is, it's all about living in the best case scenario. It's all about, I feel like our brain does this thing, or mine says anywhere, it's like, I can't do it because what if it goes wrong? What if I fall on my face and embarrass myself? What if I'm rubbish? What if I get judged? What if it doesn't end up going good for whatever reason? But you have the ability to switch that and say, what if it went really well? What if I made loads of new friends? What if I made new contacts, connections? What if I got a job from this? What if I learnt something about myself? What if I just feel really good doing it?
Yeah. I think we're sort of programmed, aren't we, to be like, what if bad stuff?
Again, it's your brain protecting you. It's
Yeah.
not I don't think you should look at it as a bad thing. Thank your brain for protecting you and then saying, bye. I can do it myself now.
Yeah, don't live in the worry because, well, you're stuck in the mud effectively if you live in the worry. You won't move either which way.
Exactly.
Which, isn't bad, but if you want to progress, it will halt you.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to leave it, darling.
I think, well, let's finish on the fact that believe in yourself and challenge yourself because you're probably more capable than you are aware of. And maybe as well, think about, again, we've said this in a previous podcast, but think about the little version of you, between the ages of 0 to 10, and think about what they'd
be like, why are you not going to that class? That's fun, I want to go do that.
Exactly. I think as well within that, they'd be like, wow, you're doing cool stuff.
Yeah.
In every which way, you've progressed and you will continue to progress. And just be aware of that, because sometimes I think you can get caught in a place where you might feel like you're trying these things, trying to push your comfort zone again and again and again. You're not necessarily getting anywhere, but sometimes you need to stop and look back and be like, oh wow, actually, I am doing good. Because you're all doing great wherever you are, whoever's listening.
Yeah, you.
Yeah.
Listening right now, you. Yes, I'm looking at you.
No, but believe in yourself.
Yeah.
It's one of the best tools that you can have in your bag.
And I think maybe that is the whole point of this podcast. It's that if you want to challenge yourself, get to where you want to be, step outside your comfort zone, it starts with trusting in you.
Absolutely.
Trusting that you have the strength and the abilities and the the power to do that. Because we know you do. You just got to trust yourself.
Self-discovery.
Wee, wee, wee.
Wee, wee, wee. Well, okay. I hope people found that useful.
They do. They will. I'm sure they will.
Good.
I find it useful. Every podcast that we do, I'm like, yeah.
It's therapeutic, I think, for us. And I think it's good that it can be therapeutic to hear.
And I definitely think even... I wish I had been able to listen to this sort of thing. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's probably out there somewhere. But when I was training, you know? Like...
Yeah.
I just think it's such a important... The things that we choose to talk about, I think, are such important things to just program your brain in a way that's going to give you longevity in your career and in your mindset and your well-being, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like I had something to say and it's gone.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, you didn't. My head just lost it. There's a bit of a gap there.
Anyway, we will be back next Friday.
We will indeed. We have some very exciting guests coming.
Oh, we're so excited. Season 2 is going to be epic.
Yeah, it will. I think you guys will enjoy and benefit. It may we will probably have guests on that might be unexpected in some regards, you know. But we're very excited about what's to come. I certainly am.
Yeah, it's going to be so good.
But yes, we'll have another episode out next Friday. As always,
thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for listening. Oh, we're going to have a Christmas special as well. I'm so excited about this. Roll on Christmas.
I know. Harry's looking very excited right now, bless him.
I am. It's going to be good.
Yes. So we'll see you next week.
As always, we will see you next week.
Stay funky and do something today to step outside your comfort zone. That is your challenge.
Give it a go.
We love you. Goodbye. See you next week.
See you next week. Have a great weekend.
You have been listening to Teen and Chat with Ports Academy.
If you have any questions or things you want to know, visit our website at www.portsacademy.co.uk or email us info@portsacademy.co.uk.
You can also find us on our socials, Instagram, Facebook and TikTok.
Thanks for listening.
We're so happy you're here. See you next week.
Bye.